This is Max with Snazzy Paint, and I'm about to give you 6 things that'll cause you to stand out in the paint game, even if you're new. What I mean by that is to make your stuff look different, more desirable, and just make you feel better about it. Let me first say as a disclaimer that this list is of my own thoughts, my own opinions. Any negative comments will be met with 43 gallons of liquid non-give-a-shits and 6 yards of go ahead and do it however you want. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, pick someone you want to be like. There's a trick to making your stuff look good, and that trick is knowing what good looks like in the first place. I had an apprentice once that I was teaching to tattoo. She got really good, but told me she wasn't happy with her progress. So I told her, who do you wish you could tattoo like? And she told me a name of this famous tattoo guy that did really cool stuff. And I said, well, then, if you want your stuff to look like his, this is what you do. You take a bunch of his art and you start copying it. And she did. She was a great apprentice. She did whatever I told her. And she took this guy's stuff and she just spent some time copying it. Well, after a certain amount of time, she ended up getting this job and she applied the concepts in this other guy's art to what she was doing. Very interesting, did a guy's whole sleeve, it was beautiful and everything. Well, fast forward 6 months and the guy came back in to see her and he said that at one time he was at a place and somebody noticed his tattoo and said, oh my God, oh, look, you got a tattoo from that other famous tattoo guy. And he said, no, I got it from this gal. Basically what that means is if you can copy somebody else's art and get good enough at it, what eventually happens is you start to apply it to your own stuff and you're not copying anymore. What you're doing is you're taking those techniques and moving them forward. So, number 1, pick someone you want to be like and start imitating their stuff. You know what? As a matter of fact, just start copying it. Just copy it exact. And over time, you'll be able to take what you learn and just apply it to your own thoughts and your own cool stuff. That's a very big step. An example of this would be if you were to pick Ed Roth. Everybody copies his stuff because it's cool. There's truckloads of great painters out there in the world to choose from. Start drawing like them until you can draw like them. Paint like them. Use their designs until you can paint like them. As you are doing that, your own thoughts and creative ideas start to take over. A lot of my designs have a foundation of artists that I admired when I was first starting out. Charles White III, amazing. Frazetta, got a lot of people doing art. And one of my favorites, Mitch Kim, pinstriper in Oregon. Amazing. And of course, Bob Moon. When I was working on my airbrush skills on illustration board, I wanted to paint just like an artist named Sorayama. I was fortunate enough to have a teacher that walked me through the process of imitating Sorayama's work. And I had finished a complete painting that looked just like Sorayama's, and I hated it. I was pissed off. And my teacher said to me, hold the Sorayama up to the thing I painted. And I did. He goes, is it close? I went, well, yeah, it's pretty close. And he goes, do you know how many people wish they could even get close to Sorayama? So of course I was all puffed up. What I didn't realize then, because I was so busy hating myself, that I had learned the techniques necessary to go on and take my own ideas, lay it down, and that way I could take all the stuff I learned on that painting and apply it to my own stuff. So find somebody you want to be like, copy the shit out of it. Number 2, find a way to be different. What I mean by that is to find a way to be different than everybody else, even if it's only a little bit. An example would be if everybody around you or all the stuff you're seeing lately is a bunch of block letters, specialize for a while. Just specialize in doing wild scripts. When I was starting out as a sign painter, when I was a pup, everybody was doing there's a zillion sign painters. Everybody's doing really simple square letters, barbershop and this stuff. So I made sure that I put a little bit of airbrush in everything that I did that I could to show off that I was an airbrush guy and that I could put really swirly letters and still make them readable. So I concentrated on that so that I could be different in some small way. And I also took my time to practice doing very cartoony stuff. And of course, I practiced my airbrush all the time, just so I could be different than what everybody else was doing. I was drawing cars all the time too. It even got to the point where some sign painters asked me to come along on jobs with them so that I could do the artsy-fartsy stuff and airbrushy stuff along, and we'd co-work on jobs, just because I was able to do stuff a little bit different. If all you see around you is modern stuff, specialize in retro. People love that stuff. And get a lot of your signs out that are in your artwork, and even your pinstriping can take on an era. The old 90s pinstriping look, or even the 50s, and even the 2000s. What's it gonna look like in the new millennium if pinstriping were to look different? Try to make that change. Try to do something a little bit different when I'm pinstriping this stuff all the time, because I just don't wanna be like everybody else. I can pinstripe some of those other styles, but man, I wanna stand out. I'm trying to make stuff look different. So yeah, I do some goofy stuff every now and then, but then something real cool comes around every now and then. Now, if some of my clients asked me to do something that I wasn't sure of, man, I got to studying. I learned about it the best I could so I can learn basically on the job. I had to start learning how this stuff works so I can get jobs because, well, at the time, my rent depended on what I painted. So I had to study and I had to learn pretty fast. So be different and act like your life depends on it, or at least your lunch. Now, even a slight difference will cause you to stand out. So, be different somehow. Number 3, take longer to do something. What I mean by this is take your time with what you're working on. If your work pisses you off, if it makes you angry, slow down, calm yourself, go back and fix stuff, clean it up. While you are being new at this, try not to promise anybody anything with a short deadline. Or if someone asks how long something is going to take, pad it a little bit. If it's going to take you a week, tell them it's going to take 2 weeks. That way you'll have time to go back and double check stuff, or even throw in some extra fun stuff that they weren't expecting, some extra cleaner, an extra outline or a drop shadow where it wasn't going to be before or something. If you do get stuck in a job where you're on a time limit and you got to bang it out and you screw something up and you have to backtrack, it's going to make you crazy. Another way to take longer is if you get done with a sign or something that you're painting, and after you're looking at it, if you think it looked better with an extra outline or an extra drop shadow or something there, or maybe even a snazzy border that normally wouldn't go there, go the extra mile. In other words, take a little longer. Take your time doing stuff. Remember, speed comes with time, but showing off is important right now. One of the differences between a good artist and a great artist is details. Some artists take their time, they take longer making their art look better. So you, as somebody that's trying to stand out and be different, take your time. Number 4, project confidence. It isn't so easy, but that belongs on this list. And by this, I mean, be confident about your work when showing it. And also to yourself, be confident about your work to yourself. I keep thinking of these words. Don't apologize. If you're telling yourself that you stink when you finish something, just keep reminding yourself you're new. If you're in the early stages of the game or you're just coming up in the art world, acknowledge that. You're supposed to be as good as you are right now, which means you've arrived. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. So basically, you're rocking this however good you are now. You're just awesome right where you're at. And if anybody says to you icky stuff about your art, or they go, oh my God, you copied that, or that's ugly or something, or boy, you must be new, then you put on this attitude of, what are you talking about? I'm rocking this. I think that it's important for you to dislike your own work a certain amount for a couple of reasons. A, it keeps you humble, not that you need it. And B, it's a motivator to cause you to do better. If you go, oh, that sucks, I gotta fix that. Well, yeah, you do, you gotta fix that. But at the same time, just go, oi, my poop smells like rose petals. So let me say this, beating yourself up can be a good thing, in moderation. But there's a point where you need to just stop and say to yourself, yeah, I suck. But that was yesterday. Today I'm gonna do everything it takes to rock this. No matter how you're doing with what you are doing, stand up straight, raise your head, take your beating for all the stuff that you did wrong, put a bandage on it, press on. I've spent a lot of valuable time hating myself. What I do now is go ahead and hate myself, but then after a sufficient amount of time, refuse to do it anymore and go about doing what it takes to make it better. It's called patience. Good luck with that. My word for this stuff here is project confidence. So no matter what your shit looks like, act like it's the coolest thing you've done to date. How you feel about your work is contagious. If you hate it, other people are gonna hate it too. If you like it, for whatever reason, then at least there will be a chance that others will. If you hate it, there is no chance. Number 5, don't paint crappy stuff. When I was working on my first tattoos, whatever weird job came through the door that the other guys didn't want to do, came to me. It was a little rough on me, and after a while, when I got to be better at it, my boss came to me and said, Max, you're no longer an apprentice, you're a tattoo guy now, and there you go. And I thought, I kind of didn't get it. I kind of went, cool, I'm a tattoo guy now. And he walked away and he goes, oh, and by the way, you can turn stuff down. And he turned around and walked out. And I kind of didn't get it. Till after I'd been tattooing a while and people would come in with some really stupid shit. And I went, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And that's what I mean by don't do crappy stuff. When you're starting out new, you kind of take anything you can take to make money or to make yourself feel better about your progress. But once you start to paint, you start to get good at it, don't paint crappy stuff. If you're imitating somebody, don't imitate somebody that's bad. If somebody asks you, no, I really have to have it this way, and you don't like it, don't do it. When you start getting a couple things painted and you make a photo album for yourself of your work that you've done and you start putting your pictures on, don't put pictures of your bad work into this photo. Don't say, oh yeah, that's when I was new. There's a saying in the art world and it goes, you're only as good as your last piece. Well, it stands to reason that you're only as crappy as the worst piece that you show to people. If the worst thing that you show to people looks really good, they're gonna think, man, even his worst one is great. This guy's good. If you have those pictures of your first pieces that just don't look so good, take them, hide them away, don't put them out where people can see them. But hang on to them. So you can take them out every now and then and look at them and use it as a motivator. Use it as a way to see how much you've improved. But stop showing them to people. Number 6, sign and date it. And make your signature readable. It is a standard practice to sign your work very small, very tiny. And in pinstriping, you sign it as minuscule as you can get it. But for me, with my signage, I like to make it big enough to at least be noticed so people will see it. And I'm not saying do it in neon or just bright glow-in-the-dark colors or gigantic, but at least readable and big enough to see who painted that sign. Some people sign their art with a scribble or a logo of 2 letters or just a splash of color. Who do you think you are, Pepsi? No one's gonna recognize your logo except for your local people. Someone's gonna wanna know a name. Maybe having a clean, readable signature isn't the #1 source of advertising for you, And you can't sign everything, obviously. So, until you become so famous that the whole world automatically recognizes your work the minute they see it, sign it. And I like to put a date on it. Put a date on it, that way you can know when it was. In closing, 1, paint like a loser, be a loser. Paint like a god, and so on. Number 2, do your homework. Find what is missing around you and rock that shit. Number 3, by taking more time with your projects, even if it's a practice piece, you'll be a little bit better than the other schmo down the street that's banging his stuff out. Go back and fix mistakes and add to what you did until it goes from meh to holy shit snacks. Number 4, own that shit. Put yourself on a soapbox and sell it. You are officially cool now. I've just dubbed you. You're cool now. Start acting like it. Number 5, turn stuff down. If someone comes to you and asks to paint something really stupid, pass on that shit. And if you have to do something that you don't like, do it so well that you transform it into something cool. And lastly, number 6, let it be known who you are. Sign it like you want to be associated with it. Let people know that you can do this kind of stuff and they'll want to find you. These 6 things aren't the only things that you need to put yourself up on top of the game. But if you keep these concepts in your mind while you're learning and while you're painting, you'll be able to move a lot faster. But no matter what strategy you use to get yourself to be better, there is no substitute for just sitting down, getting in the groove, and painting your off. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, keep an eye on my paint. Let me know what I'm doing wrong so I can get better. Trust me, I'm not going to get butthurt for very long.